timeless Montagu Pass was the first road between George and Oudtshoorn. It was opened in 1848, having taken 3 years to be built by some 250 convicts at a cost of £36,000 sterling. It lays claim to being the oldest unaltered pass still in use in South Africa and covers 17 kilometers of magnificently scenic narrow gravel road driving, ascending from the tiny hamlet of Harold on the northern side of the Outeniqua Mountains up and over the summit and then all the way down to the outskirts of George. The road compresses 126 bends, corners and curves into its length, and gradients reach a maximum of 1 in 6. The road is suitable for all vehicles in fair weather, but please remember to drive slowly, and due to the many sections being only single width, it might be necessary to reverse back to a wider point to allow passing oncoming traffic. The pass was constructed to replace the highly dangerous and extremely difficult Cradock Pass, which still exists today, but as a tough hiking trail. The pass was named after Sir John Montagu, who was the Colonial Secretary of the Cape at the time. From the northern start, the road is initially tarred for the first 1.5 kilometers as it sweeps through a wide left-hand curve. Be vigilant here for children and livestock on the road. There are several points of interest in the little village of Harold, where you'll find genuine country-style hospitality. The village was named after Dominee T.J. Harold, the Dutch Reformed Minister of George, from 1812 to 1823. There's also a wine estate in the valley, but perhaps the most important crop grown here is that of hops, used in the production of beer. At the 1.5 kilometer mark, the tar gives way to gravel as the road winds into a dense forest of tall trees. The road gets quite narrow here, so be aware of this if there's any oncoming traffic. This section through the forest is short and lasts for 700 meters, after which the road swings through a wide right-hand curve and drops down to cross a small stream. Note that this bridge is only wide enough for one vehicle, so approach with this in mind. There are a total of 4 of these single-width bridges before the summit point is reached. Wattle trees, which are native to Australia, were brought into South Africa in the 1700s, ostensibly to put down some form of vegetation over the sandy plains of Cape Town's Cape Flats area. This well-meaning but misguided experiment was so successful that today large parts of the eastern and western Cape are being choked out by wattle trees, and the worst of them all is the Port Jackson. The location of Montagu Pass was first done by Charles Mitchell, with the actual survey work being done by Dr. W. Stanger. Construction of the pass commenced in 1844 under the supervision of Mr. H. O. Farrell. In 1845, Mr. Henry Fancourt White, son of an 1820 settler who had gained road-building experience in Australia, took over the project from Farrell and completed the job by 1848. He also completed the southern section of the road to the Gouritz River, as well as the road down the Longkloof to Port Elizabeth. The Montagu Pass was the first pass ever to be built using convict labour exclusively. Between White and Montagu, both of them staunch Anglicans, they put the prisoners to good work, in the process allowing them to serve their time productively to society and simultaneously saving the state commercial costs of labour. The nearby village of Blanco was originally called White's Village, but the slightly embarrassed White requested that the name be changed to the more socially acceptable Latin version of Blanco. The road now enters dense stands of proteas as it enters a series of 4 sharp S-curves where the gradient picks up to 1 in 8. The summit point is reached at the 7 kilometer mark at an altitude of 739 meters above sea level. A small jeep track heads away into the bush towards the west, which is a good spot to park your car and explore the summit area on foot. Once at the summit, a few steps towards the south reveals an extraordinary view where you can see most of the pass descending down the mountain slopes towards George. Immediately below the summit, there's a point where the railway line kisses the road at a station appropriately called Topping. The gentler gradient of the railway line can be traced for a long way as it follows a much longer route down to George through at least 7 tunnels. Over to the right, the newer tarred Outeniqua Pass can be clearly seen with its modern gradients carrying most of the heavy traffic up to Oudtshoorn and beyond. A bare pole marks the spot of a grave at the summit. Someone has stolen the sign which once read Amanda's Grave. search for the marble tombstone hidden amongst the ferns and restios, and study the inscription of a husband who mourned the passing of his wife. The jeep track seen in this video forms the pass-to-pass route, which is 4,2 kilometers in length. Be sure to watch part 2 of this 4-part series on the Montagu Pass.